you have to do this, you have to be this way, or else you won't fit in, you won't be accepted, you'll die. Okay, and most of the shadows come from this place of you'll die. There's a lot to unpack here. What's up? Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. There's a lot of new people here. I know you came from TikTok. Welcome. And yeah, this channel is a mess right now. There are a lot of different kinds of videos that are going to be going up on this, but don't worry, there will be playlists. And there, you might be here for paranormal, you might be here for the occult, you might be here for mindset and self-development, or you might be here just because you want to look at me or something, okay? Either way, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm looking forward to building community with you. It's really important that, you know, the people that I'm building community with interact. So if you have questions, or if you want me to prioritize something that you want to learn about or have my perspective about or whatever it is, make sure that you leave those comments here, because I will prioritize you guys' comments off of YouTube before I do off of TikTok, because the problem is I can make a fuckload of TikTok videos, but keeping up with answering the questions in a more detailed form requires me to make longer videos, and I can't make nearly as many YouTube vids as I can TikToks. So just bear with me, and if there's something that you want to know about before I get to it, then just say so here and I'll do my best to make that next, okay? Other than that, I will be able to keep up a little bit better with the questions from TikTok once we get to 1,000 subscribers here. And just so you know, the reason I don't go live on TikTok is because that information isn't saved. If maybe I'll go live there if you know, I'm just cooking or something and we're just having a fun little chat, or I don't know, probably won't, but thank you for being here. Yeah, and just let's build community together. I'm thinking about opening a Discord server. If y'all want that, let me know. And yeah, let's get into it. We're talking about the shadow today. So what is the shadow? All right, so the shadow is actually a term coined by Carl Jung, who is a psychoanalyst, and he basically locked himself away in his basement for like a long ass time and invoked all of these different aspects of the collective consciousness, okay? And so you can do research on him. There are tons and tons of Jungian analysts have written tons of books. There are like reports on it. There are different blogs and just posts and stuff that you can read about, but I will say don't get caught up in the researching of what it is. The most important thing, because I mean, if you're like me, you will research and research and research, and you will keep on putting off your own inner work, and you won't reap the benefits from actually doing the inner work. You'll just know a whole bunch about the different archetypes. So that could be an issue. So that's why I want to talk about it and what has been the most important on my journey. Hopefully that can help inspire you to take your journey. And yeah, if you have questions about this, which I'm sure you will, I am freaking here for you, okay? So don't be shy, like don't be embarrassed to ask things. Like, you never know who else has the same question, and they might not know how to say it, or they might not even know that they have that question until they see it. And then, you know, not only are you helping yourself, but you're also helping other people who are trying to understand like how to come out of their like lifelong depression or mental illnesses and things like that. And so that leads me to the next point of what I consider the shadow to be. This is a widely acknowledged definition, but this is kind of just in my own words. The shadow is rejected aspects of self. So a shadow worker exposes the aspects of self in other people intentionally or on accident, so that they can integrate it and become whole, all right? Shadow work is exposing those aspects inside of yourself, integrating it so that you can live a holy experience. WHOL. Oh, why? Holy. So what would these rejected aspects of self be? All right. Some of them are selfishness. Some of them are arrogance. Some of them are hate or anger or rage. And by this, I mean, you can think about anytime you've been triggered within the last 24 hours, and you probably see people all the time say like, I'm triggered. That's what it is. It's triggering the shadow. It's exposing your shadow. Now what most people do is they just write it off as like, fuck, I'm pissed off about this, and like, I'm triggered, and don't do anything about it. But something really cool about getting pissed off or getting triggered is that you can now recognize that that is an aspect of self that you are not letting yourself experience. And whenever you do let yourself experience that, you're letting yourself have the gifts that come with it, all right? So say somebody is acting in a way that's triggering you. Maybe someone is being really selfish in your life, okay? Somebody is being really selfish, or you think that they're being really selfish. They are getting a gift out of acting that way that you're not allowing yourself to experience, okay? So think about, even if it's just as simple as somebody cutting you off on the road, or like passing you, and you think, oh, what a selfish prick, like they're not paying attention to anybody but themselves. And that could be true, but what are they giving themselves? All right, they're taking what they want. They are taking responsibility for like the way that they feel. So instead of waiting behind you and them getting all salty, they're like, fuck it, I'm gonna go around. And then they do. They're taking care of themselves, basically. They're making sure that what they need is being taken care of. And what happens when we have a trigger for selfishness is that we're not allowing ourselves to experience getting what we need, giving ourselves what we need, right? So that is one type of shadow. So what I really encourage you to do is to just look at, like, get a journal, okay? Like a fresh journal, get it, like call it shadow work journal. And just take the first page and start writing down, like, what are some of the things that piss you off to the max. Part 1. Why is TikTok taking over my life, dude? So once you have these things that make you really mad about other people or what other people do, you're gonna be able to see, all right, so what does this person get out of acting this way? So that would be the second question that you're gonna ask yourself. What are they getting out of acting this way? And once you have the answer, you'll go ahead and ask yourself, how am I denying this of myself? How am I denying myself this gift that they're giving to themselves by acting this way? See, it's a balance. Maybe they are on one end of the spectrum and you're on the other, okay? So this is like to the max giving themselves this gift, and you're not giving it to yourself at all. We want to be able to integrate this aspect of self into our everyday experience. Once you see that you could be gifting yourself this, but somewhere along the line, someone in your life portrayed this type of behavior, and you made a vow to yourself to never, ever, 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 ever act like that, or to never be that way. We often do this with our parents. We will say, like, I will never be like my mom. So 20 years goes by, and this is a vow, okay? It's inside of your body. It's locked into your body. And so your subconscious mind is totally separate from your conscious mind, which is the mind that we use every single day. Your subconscious is the one that's on autopilot. It's running a program, and it's what keeps you safe, all right? It's what keeps us safe from things that we perceive to be dangerous because of the vows that we make in our childhood. Most of them come from our childhood. So I'll never be like my mom. Then 20 years passes, and it turns out you're exactly like your mom, but you refuse to see it, all right? And that comes from having a vow of loyalty to our parents and a tribe mentality, okay? So whenever, like, back before we had the Industrial Revolution and all of that, if you were kicked out of your tribe, like of origin, if you were rejected from your family and your friends and your community, where people felt like you were a threat to them, you would be out on your own and you would have to survive on your own. And that's a survival instinct that's built into us, because if we were kicked out of our tribe before, we would die. Now, we don't have to worry about that. We have the internet, we can find, new tribes of people. We can let people leave our lives and know for a fact that that's making space for the people who are aligned with us to come into our lives. And, it's freaking amazing what the internet has done for us psychologically. It's just that our survival mechanisms haven't evolved as fast as technology has. So we're still having to deal with this. These are really great ways to be able to hack into that circuitry. So let me think about what I was thinking about before. Okay, so before you made that vow of rebellion, you made a vow of loyalty, because as a baby also, you need your parents to survive. You have to be loyal to them to survive, right? So now you have both of these vows and you're living out both of them. So while you're rebelling against them, you're also being loyal to their paradigm, to their trauma, to their shadows, to their whole view of the world. And it can fuck your life up pretty bad. It can cause you to experience like mood disorders. It can cause you to experience depression and like bipolar and stuff. And lots of people will be like, well, your medical diagnosis is a chemical thing. Yeah, and you also have the ability to change the chemicals in your brain through tons of different practices. There's a lot of super sensitive people in the world. My age and younger, lots of people are coming in, seeing through the veil, seeing through the bullshit of what society's trying to push onto us that worked in the 50s and it doesn't work now, right? And we're seeing this and it's depressing. Anybody would be depressed if they were born into voluntary slavery, right? Your birth certificate is an IOU. You are dead. America is a corporation, right? We are numbers. Inside of you, you know that, especially if you're one of the types of people that's very against the grain and rebellious. Deep inside of you, you know that, but you can't live out that rebellion because that part of you is shrouded in shame. It's shrouded in you have to do this, you have to be this way, or else you won't fit in, you won't be accepted, you'll die, okay? And most of the shadows come from this place of you'll die. There's a lot to unpack here. So I really want you to just get out your journal, and if you have to rewatch this video, rewatch it. That's great. Take notes. Write down your aha moments, things that come up for you while you're listening to this truth, because that's what needs to happen, is for you to find your truth, okay? Another thing I want to talk about is there's more than one kind of shadow. It's not just stuff that we're ashamed of, okay? And shame is highly relevant to shadow, because what happens is when we take those vows, if we were to do the thing we vowed not to do or be the thing that we vowed not to be, it would make us feel shameful because we made a vow to ourselves not to do that. And so that shame it's poison. It lives inside of us and it turns into poison and it makes us sick, right? Emotional traumas that we don't pay attention to and we just kind of write off or we medicate away, that shit makes us sick. It can physically manifest in your body. We just need to get it out. So there's good shadows and there's bad shadows, right? I don't like to use, okay, so there are shadows that are perceived as real negative, that maybe greed or selfishness, things like that. But then there's also shadows that's wow, I fucking love that person. I wish I could be like that person. Or I wish that I could talk like that, right? Or I wish that I could communicate in a way where I could be heard like that person does, right? So you have your negative triggers, and once you're done writing the things that piss you off, what the person gets by acting that way and how you're denying yourself those, I want you to go and do the exact opposite. So what are some things that you recognize in people? Because the only way we can really see our shadow is by another person reflecting it to us, okay? It's very difficult to access the part of your consciousness that is housing the shadow, okay? So a lot of the time we have to look outside of ourselves to be able to see our shadows. So the next exercise I'll have you do is by going and thinking about all the things that like really turn you on about other people. Like, what do sometimes like you see in other people and it just turns on something inside of you where you're like, I wish I could be that or this or that or whatever. And really pay attention to the way that it makes you feel. Most likely it's going to make you feel sad. If you think about doing some of those things, it'll make you feel fearful. So identify the gifts that they're getting out of being that way, that you're denying yourself. And then also recognize that you're not allowing yourself to have those gifts because it's not safe to be that way. Because just like the vows that you took at the beginning, you vowed to, be giving and never take, right? Like only give and never receive, because receiving is greedy, right? Rich people are greedy, that kind of thing. So whenever you're looking at the more positive shadows, you will look at why it's not safe and how it's keeping you safe to not be that way, to not be that thing. How is it keeping you safe? And a lot of these vows come from things like vowing to never be seen or heard because, our parents or our grandparents locked it in that kids are to be seen and not heard. Or maybe you did make yourself heard before and you got rejected for it. Right? Like maybe you were rejected, maybe you got the guts to do like the 3rd grade talent show and you were booed off the stage or something like that. That could very well happen. But ever since that moment, you vowed to never let your voice be heard again, or you vowed to never be seen again, right? This all ties into like our worthiness and what we believe about ourselves from our current paradigm, from our programming. So yeah, I think this is kind of all I want to talk about as far as the shadow goes. I don't want you to have too much to think about because it is very in-depth. This is just like a jumping off point. This is just a starting point for those of you who want to know, like, how can I get involved in my own shadow work journey? This is a brilliant place to start at, okay? And I know it's going to help you so much. Now, shadow workers are people like me who have always been rebellious. And before I was conscious that I was a shadow worker and doing it in a way that integrates people back to a state of being in unison with their own divinity, I was doing it unintentionally. There are people in the world who are going to spend their whole life unconscious that they are a walking, talking trigger for the people around them to grow, right? And that doesn't make them bad people. That means that they are here to help other people grow, to help other people by being a reflection of the parts of self that they're denying, right? So how I became conscious of this was through doing my own shadow work and integrating all of those things like worthiness, like allowing myself to feel worthy, allowing myself to be seen and heard, allowing myself to speak my truth. And what ended up happening was that I stopped being judgmental. I stopped being depressed. I stopped using like the terms good and bad. I stopped seeing in black and white. And there is not very much on this planet or in the human race that I could not see the other side of the story. What shadow working has done for me is it has allowed me to see the complexity even deeper. It's allowed me to tap into levels of consciousness that I didn't ever know existed. And that a lot of people don't know exist, or if they do hear about those levels of consciousness, think that it's a bunch of, woo-woo or whatever. But whenever you step outside of judgment, which is one of the biggest things, stepping outside of judgment and stepping into acceptance of self and others, your life will change in ways that can't even be described. Things will start happening to you that you don't even realize you wanted, because you're honoring your true self. You're honoring all of the things that you thought you could never be, do, or have, and you're allowing yourself to finally live and express your truth fully. It's so magical, and it sets you up for such a magical mindset too. You get to lose all of the fear. You get to, yeah, it's just incredible. Like, there are no words. If you're afraid to do shadow work, I personally think that everybody who comes upon shadow work is meant to start shadow work. That's just how I see it. There's nothing to be afraid of. It might feel like your world is turning upside down sometimes, because when we start recognizing our shadows, we have to own it. We have to dedicate ourselves to living in alignment with our highest and greatest expressions of self, no matter what the consequences are, because our shadow's going to tell us and our ego's going to tell us that we should be afraid of those things happening. But really, a lot of the times, shit will get pushed out of your life because something really fabulous is about to come into it, something that you've been asking for, something that on a soul level you know you were born for and destined for. And there's really nothing to be afraid of. And this is sort of one of the reasons why I want to open up like the Discord chat or server thing, is because I don't use Facebook anymore at all. TikTok has a limit on characters, and I just think that it would be a cool place to be able to hang out with everybody. Yeah, I don't know what else might be in the works, but we'll kind of just get to see how that unfolds. You guys sort of tell me what you want. I want to be able to work with you closer, but there's no way in hell that I'm going back on Facebook, not even to make a group again. I'm not consistent enough to keep up a group. I'm not gonna do that. So, see, honoring my truth. There are always ways around. So it's just kind of about finding them. So yeah, leave your questions. Feel free to share with me, some of the things, some of the moments that you had during the exercises I shared here. Like whenever you go and do your own journaling and do your own work on this, tell me about it. What did you experience? Like, what were some of the really badass moments for you where you're just like, I cannot believe I didn't see this. This stuff isn't hard, you guys. Like, it sounds hard. People make it sound scary, but it's not. It can be at the beginning. It can feel overwhelming because you're really meeting yourself, and your true self is huge. It's infinite. And so going up against like your infinity is a little bit challenging sometimes. We just don't understand how big we actually are. And this is just the starting point that I think everybody should at least go through in their life one time. So I hope you enjoy this. In the coming videos, I'll be posting more paranormal stuff. I actually have a paranormal video that I did with my husband from a couple months ago that I haven't even edited yet. It's on my computer, but I just haven't edited it because those take me like 10 plus hours. So yeah, it kind of sucks. And then I'll also be talking more about the sigils. I talked about it on TikTok a lot, or a little bit, made 3 videos back to back about sigil creation and firing them and all of that. And I'll also be talking more about coming in tune with and beginning to trust your intuition, because your intuition is what's going to guide you on this whole process. So I'll probably make that video next. I'm just really glad that you guys are here. I'm really happy that you're wanting to learn about yourself. I'm happy that you're like stepping into your power and just owning the amazing, brilliant, badass person that you are. And I cannot wait to take this journey with you. So, till next time, I'll see you later.